Hi students, today we are seeing the anatomical terms, the body planes, and the feedback system. Let's begin. So first we are going to see directional terms. Superior. The brain is superior to the stomach. Inferior. The liver is inferior to the heart. Anterior. The sternum is anterior to the heart. Posterior. The heart is anterior to the sternum. Median. The ulna is medial to the radius. Lateral. The lungs are lateral to the heart. Intermediate. The nose is intermediate to the eyes. Ipsilateral. The ascending and descending columns are collateral. Proximal. The humerus is proximal to the radius. Distal. The phalanges are distal to the carpals. Superficial. The rings are superficial to the lungs. Deep. The brain is deep to the skull. Now that you understand anatomical terms, we are going to see the body planes. There are three. Transverse is the one that divides the body or an organ into superior and inferior parts. The transverse plane can also be called cross-sectional or horizontal plane. Sagittal is a vertical plane that divides the body or an organ into right and left sides. A mid-sagittal plane divides the body or organ into equal right and left sides, while a parasagittal plane divides them into unequal left and right sides. Frontal divides the body or organ into equal posterior and anterior parts. Now we are going to see the last topic, the feedback system, which is a cycle of events in which the status of a body condition is monitored, evaluated, and changed, remonitored, reevaluated, and so on. Each monitored variable, such as body temperature, blood pressure, or blood glucose level, is called a controlled condition. A feedback system has three basic parts: a receptor, a control center, and an effector. Receptor is a body structure such as nerve ending or sensory receptor that monitors change in a controlled condition and sends input, usually in the form of a nerve impulse or chemical signal, to a control center. Control center sets the range of values within which a controlled condition should be maintained, evaluates the input it receives, and generates output commands, usually in the form of nerve impulses, hormones, or other chemical signs. Effector is a body structure, such as a muscle or gland, that receives output from the control center and produces a response or effect that changes the controlled condition. Almost every organ or tissue in the body can behave as an effector. Well, students, this is all for today's class. Have a nice weekend. Hi guys! In today's class, I'm going to explain you what's a body tissue and also the four types that there exist, that are epithelial, connective, nervous, and muscle tissue.
What does an epithelial tissue consist in?
Well, it consists of tightly packed cells that form a continuous layer. Because the cells are closely packed and they are tightly together by many cell junctions, there is a little intercellular space between adjacent plasma membranes. It is divided in covering and lining epithelium and glandular epithelium.
In what is covering and lining epithelium divided?
Well, for you to understand better, I'm going to explain more explicit. So, we have epithelial tissue, which is divided into covering and lining and glandular. Then, covering and lining is divided into by its shape or by its numbers of layers. By its shapes can be divided in three: squamous cells, cuboidal cells, and columnar cells. And glandular can be divided in two: exocrine and endocrine. So moving on, now we are going to see connective tissue. Does anyone know what connective tissue is? Anyone?
It is one of the most abundant and widely distributed tissues in the body. It binds together, supports, and strengthens other body tissues, protects and insulates internal organs, compartmentalizes structures such as skeletal muscles, serves as the major transport system within the body. It is the primary location of stored energy reserves and is the main source of immune responses.
Great! It can be classified in various types: loose fibers, dense fibers, adipose tissue, reticular connective tissue, cartilage, bone, and the liquid connective tissue that are blood and lymph. Muscle tissue consists of elongated cells called muscle fibers that use ATP to generate force. There are three types of muscular tissue based on its location, structure, and functions: skeletal muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue, and smooth muscle tissue.
What about nervous tissue?
Well, it consists of two cell types, neurons and neuroglia, and it's present in the brain and spinal cord. A neuron is an specialized cell that has three parts: cell body, dendrites, and the axon, which is the most long dendrite. So, moving on to the next topic, we are going to see skin cancer and osteoporosis. We are going to talk about risk factors of both of these diseases. Does anyone know a risk factor of skin cancer?
Having fair skin, a history of sunburns, excessive sun exposure, sunny or high altitude climates, a weakened immune system.
That's right. Well, now, osteoporosis risk factors. Can anyone tell me an osteoporosis risk factor?
Gender. Women are much more likely to develop osteoporosis than men. Age. The older you get, the greater your risk of osteoporosis. Race. Whites and Asians are at greater risk of osteoporosis. Family history and frame size.
Great! Those are non-controllable risk factors, but we also have controllable risk factors, such as hormone levels. Osteoporosis is more common in people with too much or too little certain hormones. Dietary factors. Osteoporosis is more common in people which have a low calcium intake. For example, if you have anorexia, you are more likely to develop osteoporosis. Lifestyle choices. Excessive alcohol consumption increases with the body ability to absorb calcium. To prevent these diseases, you can do these activities: aerobic or cardiovascular exercise such as cycling, walking, or running. These activities help for having a strong heart, increase of the total number of red blood cells in the body, improved breathing, improved muscle heart, weight loss, and obviously disease reduction. Anaerobic exercise, such as weight training, helps to increase muscle strength.